It's something we do every single day. But have you ever really stopped to think about it? How do your words, your voice, travel clear across the globe in just the blink of an eye? Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the incredible, invisible world that makes it all happen.
It really does feel like magic, doesn't it? You speak into your phone and somehow someone halfway across the world hears you instantly. But it's not magic, of course. It's actually this brilliant system of engineering. And that's exactly what we're going to unpack right now.
So, the secret behind that magic is something we call internet architecture. The best way to think of it is as the invisible foundation for our entire digital world. It's the roads, the rules, the traffic signals, all the stuff that supports every single message, call, and post. It's the how behind everything.
Okay, so let's start by popping the hood, right? The funny thing is, the internet wasn't originally built for this. It was designed for text and data. So how in the world did it evolve to handle something as rich and complex as the human voice?
Well, it really all boils down to one thing: language. Just like you and I need to speak the same language to understand each other, all the computers and devices on the internet need a shared set of rules to communicate. And these rules, we call them protocols. And when it comes to protocols, there are two big ones you should know about: TCP/IP and HTTP. You can think of TCP/IP as the internet's postal service. It's what takes your message, chops it up into little pieces, addresses them, and then makes sure they all get where they're going. And HTTP? That's kind of like the librarian. It's the language your web browser uses to ask for and get the web pages you want to see. These two are basically the bedrock of our entire online world. And this is how that whole process works. See, your voice at a phone call isn't sent as one long, continuous stream. Nope, the internet breaks it down into thousands and thousands of tiny packets of data. It's like writing a letter, but then cutting it up into a bunch of postcard-sized pieces, mailing them all separately, and then having them perfectly put back together on the other side. And the craziest part, it all happens in milliseconds. Just incredible.
All right, so that's the basic architecture. But how does that foundation actually support the tools and apps we use every single day? Because, let's be honest, it has evolved way beyond just sending emails. It's become this massive global stage for our voices.
Okay, first up, we've got VoIP. That stands for Voice over Internet Protocol. And really, this is the tech that turned the internet into your phone. Every single time you make a call on WhatsApp or jump on a Zoom meeting or chat on Skype, you are using VoIP to send those tiny packets of your voice zipping across the web. And it's not just about talking to someone, right? It's also about listening. Streaming services use the exact same fundamental architecture. So when you're listening to your favorite podcast on Spotify or a new album on Apple Music, what you're really doing is pulling all that audio data across the internet, delivered right to your device, whenever you want it. And then, of course, you have the biggest digital megaphone of all: social media. I mean, platforms like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, they've become our digital town squares, right? They allow a single person's voice to reach a global audience in an instant.
So, here's the key takeaway from all this. Whether it's a super private one-on-one phone call or a massive broadcast reaching millions of people, it is all running on the exact same core architecture, the same protocols we just talked about. The only thing that really changes is the scale.
Okay, but this brings us to a really, really important and frankly pretty complex part of this whole story. If everyone has a megaphone, who gets to decide what you can and can't say? Who are the gatekeepers here? Yeah, because when literally anyone can speak to everyone, things can get messy fast. The very same architecture that empowers us and gives us a voice also has to grapple with the consequences of how that voice gets used. And that, my friends, is where regulation comes into the picture. So to try and manage all this, platforms create what they call community guidelines. They're constantly on the lookout for things like hate speech, misinformation, and harassment. And they use this mix of super smart AI systems and actual teams of human moderators to try and filter out the bad stuff. And this right here, this is the central tension of the modern internet. It's a real balancing act. On one side, you've got the platforms, who feel they need to control the environment using things like content filtering and moderation to keep it safe. But on the other side, you've got us, the users, who want to have open, unfiltered expression. And, finding the right balance between those two things, that is one of the biggest challenges of our time, for sure. This whole idea of a level playing field leads us to another really critical concept. It's not just about what you can say, but whether your voice can even be heard equally. This quote here really gets to the heart of a huge debate around something called net neutrality.
So what is net neutrality? To put it really simply, it's the idea that internet providers have to treat all the data on their networks equally. They can't play favorites. Without it, your provider could, say, slow down Netflix to make their own streaming service seem faster, or maybe even block a news site they don't agree with. It's really all about making sure the internet stays a level playing field, where a tiny startup has the same shot at reaching you as a giant corporation.
Okay, so we've got all these forces at play, right? We have platform moderation, these big debates over net neutrality. So in the middle of all that, how do we make sure our private conversations actually stay private and that our expression remains free? And that question is more important now than ever before. As more and more of our lives go online, the tools we use to protect our speech, well, they become an absolutely essential part of the internet's architecture itself.
And maybe the most powerful tool in that toolbox is encryption. You can think of it like a digital lock and key for your messages and calls. It's what makes sure that only you and the person you're talking to can actually see what's being said. It protects your conversations from prying eyes, and in doing so, it safeguards your fundamental right to private expression.
And all of this leaves us with one final and I think really critical question. As our digital world keeps growing and evolving, who should be the one to write the rules for our speech? Should it be governments, the platforms themselves, or should it be us, the users? Honestly, there are no easy answers here, but understanding the architecture, how it all works, is the first most important step in being part of that conversation. Thanks for joining me for this explainer.